Well, there are many suggestions as to where outer space might begin. From an international level, the debate is stonewalled. However, as more and more countries develop their own national laws, all of those national laws have a licensing system involved. And so typically what happens is a government sets up a body to issue licenses to engage in space activities. When it sets up that body, it has to say when that body has jurisdiction. And so in the Australian example, the government set up a body that issues licenses under the Australian legislation. And the Australian legislation says, for the purposes of this legislation, the licensing authority only looks at activities that are intended to go above 100 kilometres above mean sea level. Now, that legislation is not meant to say space begins at that level. It's there to say that's when we start issuing licenses. But as and when more countries follow the Australian example, and there have been one or two others now that have done the same, and if we have a number of countries that are beginning to say, let's say 100 kilometres above mean sea level constitutes an area where licenses must be issued, you have the beginnings of what you might think of state practice. I think we're a long way from that yet, but more and more people are beginning to recognise that we need to find some point, some demarcation at law, and national legislation will lead the way in that regard.